This is the Biomega OKO, or OKO. I'm not exactly sure how to say it properly, but it is designed and built over in kind of Copenhagen, Germany. So real precision, premium, high quality stuff here. A number of brands like Focus and Kalkoff and kind of the German heritage that it's neat to see coming to America. So I'm actually near the headquarters for Biomega in Silicon Valley, California, and this is sort of like their satellite office where they're reaching out to a new market, and it's awesome to kind of see this thing. This one's actually a little bit of a kind of a rougher build, sort of a prototype, but almost everything on it is as you would get with like a pre-order as these things start to trickle into shops. The design was done by KBC, which is another firm in Copenhagen, Germany that's known for doing really cool design work, but also very functional, very practical. You might notice that it's got these integrated fenders that are part of the frame, and even just sort of those seat stays and the fork, a little bit fatter, kind of like blades here. And that's because this whole bike, almost all of it at least, is carbon fiber. Comes in white or silver, as you see here. A couple of the places that aren't carbon fiber are sort of this dropout area right here. Hear the difference? And then up here, this is an aluminum seat post. We've got kind of a custom Biomega sort of a stem going on. Same with the handlebars, a little bit of a riser, kind of a swept back design. But by doing carbon fiber, I mean, that's expensive to make something like this, to just create the molds and to do everything to set. I honestly, I don't know that much about carbon fiber, so I probably shouldn't be talking, but I imagine it's very labor intensive and expensive to build something so custom like this. And it comes in 3 different sizes, so it's like 17, 19 and a half, 21. They're all sort of this high step, and the top tube is a little bit fatter. You can kind of see it, and that's because the battery is integrated. And you can see it from the bottom here. There's sort of like a keyhole and the charging port. It seems like that would be removable. I have not taken it off. I have pedaled this thing. It's the top tube's narrow enough that I wasn't really noticing too much of an issue with my legs, but it is wider than sort of a standard tube size. So there, it's a little bit closer as you're pedaling along. I had reviewed like the Sneelhide cycles a while back, and they've got a bigger battery box, and even then it sort of depends on how you ride, but this especially, it kind of stays out of the way. The weight is a little bit higher for that battery pack than some of the other bikes that have it in the down tube, but that might help to create a more rigid feel, or maybe it's just, the thickness of this battery box could come into contact with this, the chain ring and the fender up here. So I wasn't there when they designed this, but it actually rides really well. For a bike that doesn't have any suspension, the carbon fiber, it kind of just has a different feel to it. If you've ever ridden a road bike, it kind of, there's a little bit of give, I guess, or a kind of an organic feel. I guess you'd have to try it yourself, but the tires do a lot to sort of, I guess, just smooth the ride out, because this is a bike that you might be cruising around the city or the neighborhood when there are cracks and potholes and stuff. It's nice to have a little bit of give going on. If you did decide to put like a seat post suspension on, though, I think that's like 27.2, pretty standard diameter for the seat post. But coming back to the tires, these are V tires. They're 26 by 1.95. So I was looking at like the Faraday Porter. That's another really cool city style electric bike, and it had like 28 by, actually it was 26 by 1.75, so 1.95, even sort of thicker. A little bit of a puncture protection going on, and it's a little bit of a bumpier tread. The bumps are really close to each other. This isn't off-road, but what I find is that those absorb even a little bit more of kind of the jar that happens when you're riding along the street. So what I'm saying is it feels good. You get the right size, even though you have to step over a little bit taller. You get the nice, kind of tires going on, a little bit more comfortable that way. And then you have just a beautiful drivetrain. So this is the Gates Carbon Drive CDX. The CDX is talking about this little line down the middle, and down the middle of the carbon belt that helps it to stay on track. It's super quiet. It's not greasy when you touch it, and there's no derailleur in the back that could get bonked if the bike tips over, that needs tune-ups and adjustments. So it's just a really elegant solution. It's quiet, it's tight, it's kind of a model that a lot of bikes are taking on, including the Faraday Porter and some of these other a really iconic bicycle. So I love that. It kind of comes in these two different options. One is the Shimano Alpine 8-speed internally geared hub, and you can see the shifter up here, trigger shifters. This is by far and away my preference for drivetrain. I like having more gears because I tend to spin faster. Part of the reason I like electric bikes is because my knees get a little bit sensitive if I'm pushing really hard. But if you're someone who doesn't want to spend as much money, they have a 2-speed auto shift SRAM internally geared hub too. So that one, I've tried it on some of the other Biomega bikes, again, since I'm sort of at kind of like their US outlet, US offices here. And that, it shifts a little early for me, like right when I start to feel like, oh, okay, cool. It's like kunk, and then you're going slow again. So not my preference, but that bike's only $22.95. So just, like $2,300 for a carbon fiber, like custom made electric bike in 3 frame sizes that only weighs, like they say 41 pounds on the website. This one, I weighed it and it's like 42.4. Maybe that's because it has, the larger hub with more gears in it. This one also has a kickstand on it. They might have weighed it without that. I highly recommend putting a kickstand on. This is like a Plesher E5GE or ESGE. I'm not really sure. It was nice that they at least have a place to put it on, because a bike like this, you don't want it to fall and get scratched and stuff, which again, this one kind of has, being a demo model. But yeah, those are some of the reasons that the weight might not quite match. It's still an incredibly lightweight electric bike. 350 watt internally geared hub in the front, 36 volt 9.9 lithium ion battery pack. Okay, so this is like average, but it actually performs above average in my opinion. Like, I hopped on this thing and it's like, it zips, it definitely goes. Their display console is super minimal. Again, this might be like the Kabisi design firm coming in and saying, let's simplify this. Same thing with the Faraday Porter and some of these other bikes. It's clean cockpit. You don't have a display. You don't know how full the battery is. You don't know how fast you're going. But it's a bike that it's fun to pedal around even if you ran out of juice. And if you're actually in the city and you're parked and having a display and having to put it on, take it off, potentially getting distracted, potentially having people even think like, oh, is that an electric bike? It's nice to just, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. There are a lot of apps that give you feedback and stuff. I'm not sure if they have a mobile app or not. I didn't see anything about something like that on the website. Anyway, this console thing might be changing, but it's super handy the way it's set up. It's very close to your thumb, so you can hold the handlebar and adjust on the fly. But there's just an on-off switch right here, and this like blue LED lights up, and then there's a plus and a minus. So you can kind of minus all the way down, and it's just a bicycle. Power doesn't work or anything. And again, no display, so it's just sort of like you're just using a little bit of electricity for that LED, I guess. And then you can arrow up, and it seems like there are a couple or a few modes of assist. So it's like, kind of medium and then up to high, which is just full power, up to 20 miles per hour. So it's fairly standard. I think in terms of performance, there is a little bit more weight in the front because of that hub motor, but it's an internally geared hub. These are pretty lightweight, and there's a little bit more of a when you're going, but it's a pretty good trade-off when you don't want to impact the steering so much and you want to go with a belt drive and internally geared hub. And another one of the advantages of this, besides cleanliness and sort of durability, is that you can shift at standstill. So I can be going up a hill, oh, the light turned red, I come to a stop, but I'm in a high gear, I can just, shift down. Let's go down all the way to 1. No problem. Like, it just shifted, it's done. And then as soon as I start pedaling again, my cadence is much lower, and that, to me, that's still one of the reasons why I would pay a little bit more. It's $26.95. So if you want to get the 8-speed internally geared hub, so $400. It seems like a lot, but I still think that a bike like this, that's carbon fiber, that really cool, and you've got the fenders and everything, it's pretty decent trade-off in my mind. I imagine it'd last for quite a while. I do like the reflective sidewall stripes that they've got on the tires. That's a good safety element, but there aren't any lights integrated, so you might have to get some of those yourself. There's also no rear rack bosses to add an aftermarket rack. However, Biomega does have something on their website, sort of like a beam rack that just sort of connects to the seat post and hangs out. There weren't any pannier blockers, but I think between the fender and maybe this arm, you'd be all right. The fender is kind of long, and it's something that could, I think, get broken if you really crash this or put a lot of weight on it, so I'd be careful with that. But you know, it's a utility kind of thing, and it's also an aesthetic and really, really beautiful. You can see it's pretty firm. It's not like wiggling or anything here on the front. And they're able to run all the wires through and just keep that extremely beautiful design going. If we come over to the other side of the bike, you'll notice these pedals. I think these are just another custom, really well done, kind of a platform, part plastic, part aluminum, integrated reflectors. And they've got these, I don't know if these are really adjustable height set screws, but they do have these metal pinpoints. They aren't like super like aggressively knobby or anything like that. They're not sharp, is what I'm saying. So if you slipped off and scraped your shin, you might not get torn up as bad, but you're also not getting quite as much grip. So I'm glad that they're a little bit oversized in terms of a platform. Shimano cranks, pretty nice stuff there. And then the brakes. Oh, and by the way, if you have to take off the front wheel, you'll notice the quick disconnect for the power cable right there. It's run on the inside of the fork, so it kind of stays clean looking, stays out of the way. No quick release on either one of the wheels, but you know, it's kind of, sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. And when you're dealing with a front mounted hub motor, at least you're keeping the clutter down in the back, because a lot of times there's a derailleur, there's the motor cable, there's the brake cable, there's all this stuff. So in some ways it's kind of neat to see it up there, even though there's a little bit more weight. So the brakes, Shimano Dior hydraulic, tiny little levers. They stay out of the way. You can easily pull them with a finger or two. It's kind of nice. Nice big 180 millimeter rotors, front and rear. Again, there's the Shimano Dior calipers and interface right there, and that's it. No wires running down below the bottom bracket like you see on a lot of bikes. It's really cool. 14 gauge spokes, pretty standard. I think that might be like a pretty good sort of overview. Again, I'm just really impressed. I saw this and I was a little bit dismissive, like just mentally, it's hard not to be. You look at this many bikes and you're like, oh, it's another like futuristic whatever bike that's like $10,000 or something. And then to hear that it was, you know, $2,700 for this one, for like the higher end one. Yeah, it wowed me. Definitely got me excited and thinking about how I could actually use this, and it looks pretty cool. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and hop on this thing and do a little test ride and show you how quiet it is. Get into a nice neighborhood over here. I'll go ahead and just start like in the lowest level, which is just 0, and kind of just pedal power only. Hear a little bit. It might need a little bit of a tune-up. Just the coasting sounds of the wheels and stuff there making a little bit of noise. And it rides pretty stable. I'm kind of doing the no hands thing here. There we go, shifting. I was riding a bike like this the other day and really trying to show the motor power and like standing up and shifting, and someone said, oh, you know, like ease off a little bit when you shift using an internally geared hub like that, because it can be kind of hard on it. Same thing with a derailleur, like you don't want to mash the gears, I guess. So no. It's feeling pretty good. Now I'm gonna hit the power. Go ahead and arrow it up. There we go. You definitely hear it, even on low, but that's not any different than most internally geared electric hub motors that I test, especially a 350 watt. And you do feel the power. It definitely zipped me up to speed. This time I'm going to shift to a higher gear, try to hit the top speed. Okay. There we go. And I'd imagine we're maxing out at that 20 mile per hour top speed right now. So disc brakes going on. So this does use a cadence sensing pedal assist, which means that even if I'm just moving my feet, I'm not even really pushing, I'm just slowly moving them, the motor activates. And that's cool for someone who has hurt knees like I do. Seems like it must be in the bottom bracket, but it's really well hidden It's another one of those design points that these guys got. You don't see like a disc with magnets on it. Somehow it's inside. So, whew, I think that's about it. It's been fun to ride this thing around, learn a little bit about the company. I definitely appreciate the aesthetic and the price. Like, good job, like actually making this affordable for people while looking cool. And the 3 sizes, like, yeah, I'm impressed with the bike. So for the full ride up and some other city bike reviews, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Ride safe.